My guests today are two-thirds of the creative team for the final episode of this series of I Create Online. Normally, Dominik is the ICO man behind the camera, but again, he's created yet another imaginative visualization. This time for the music of Deviant and Naive Ted, which is reworked fragments. I think Christian Elliott wrote 22 of them, Christian being the Irish Chamber Orchestra's principal cellist. Good morning to both of you. How are you today?
All good, man.
I'm good. How are you keeping, Matthew?
Fantastic. Now, Dominik, I know you describe yourself as the grumpy cameraman, but nonetheless, I imagine that making something like this must take a lot of creativity and there must be a bit of a sense of fun involved in making such a great film. But can you tell me, what does go into making this kind of film?
Well, you can be creative and grumpy at the same time, you know. But seriously, for this one, it took a lot of preparation, testing, planning. I think it's the most ambitious episode of I Create Online from a technical point of view, because there were so many elements going into it, and I think it took us almost a year to make it work. So after the success of the first season of I Create Online, we were talking to Katrina about what to do next, about ideas, what she would like to do, what kind of collaboration with my work. And she said she wanted to do something with a DJ. So I said, like, I know Andy because we work in music generation. He was working on a creative show with me as well. So we asked him, and he kindly agreed to do it. So I knew between him and Christian, the music is in good hands, so I just have to focus on ideas for the video. And because the music concept was to create those small pieces of classical music, and then Andy to use it to create the final piece, I thought, well, if you do the similar thing with the video, so you just create small elements that create one final one. So kind of obvious choice was to use TVs or some kind of projection. And after something, we just, okay, but like if we're looking at the like static shot of TVs, no matter how good the music is, it's just gonna get boring quite quickly. So then I remember one of my favorite music videos by Michel Gondry, Lucas with a lid off. It's like one continuous Steadicam shot that takes you through the story, and it's got like stops for some scenes, so it moves from one scene to the other. So I was thinking, well, if we do the same thing and use the TV wall as a climax of the video. So then I was working with that. So we had to record all the elements for all the TVs throughout the story for the climax. And then just time the music and the cues to work with the location that we had, because it was one continuous shot. You had to hit every cue at the exact right time, and then it was just a matter of shooting it, which wasn't fun.
Well, to me, I mean, it does sound quite fun. I mean, I don't suppose you experienced it as fun, but it does sound as if the whole process, the whole creativity part of the process, there must have been some element of fun. Now, Andy, as Dominik said, Christian composed 22 small fragments of sound, and they're all played by the Irish Chamber Orchestra, members of the Irish Chamber Orchestra. Some of them melodic and some of them are simple sound effects. So, as far as I understand, he handed all these recordings over to you, and I wonder what happened next.
Well, I guess at the start as well, as in we actually had a good few discussions, as me and Christian, about, I guess, composing pieces that were to be played using a turntable. So there's certain limitations and certain things like that. So like one rotation of a record would be at 133.33 BPM. So we made all the pieces at that So once he actually gave them to me, they were all ready for kind of working with. So they were already in shape based on the parameters we kind of talked about. So after that, it was then just kind of seeing what fits, and it was all just kind of guided by working with them as opposed to thinking about it, really, to be honest. It was very hands-on and just seeing what could be done. And to the final piece, it's about 4 and a bit minutes long, but like we actually made about half an hour's worth of music. And
Okay, yeah.
And so this kind of section was just I guess the pieces that fit Dominik's vision the best, really. But yeah, there was all sorts of variety within what we actually made.
And you said that you kind of collaborated with Christian, that you worked together. And I wonder, what's the difference between working with a sort of classically trained musician and kind of doing the normal stuff you do?
I guess normal is a very sort of odd word for what I do anyway. I guess it's no different. I guess I've got a tremendous respect for all kind of sources of sound. It doesn't matter if it's a human that's making it or if it's a fridge making it or whatever, sound is sound. And it can be manipulated in the same ways as I would always do it. I guess the big difference maybe was that I had the video in mind, at the front of my mind maybe as well, that was like the audio was there to support the video. So that's a different way of working than I would usually work, where the audio is the front part.
Right, I see. Yeah, okay. So, Dominik, finally, can you tell me something about the actual filming of the video? I've seen a little bit of it, and the location looks absolutely incredible. I'm also interested to know kind of what happened on the day, and to be honest, most importantly, what can people expect to see when they watch it?
Where do I start? The location is Bonatine Mill in Limerick Docks, and I have to thank Tom Tracy from Shannon Foyne's port company, because he went beyond and above to accommodate us and help us any way we could, because we had to go in earlier to kind of plan the timing, so we had to run through the location to pick the spots for TVs where it needs to go, and there was like never any problems, so like thanks Tom. What went on the day, that was a nightmare. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, because you're dealing with such an old technology. There's like no way of controlling it. You can try, and like I was testing it in a studio before, but obviously because it's like you're sending a signal to a converter that's going to another converter, and like if any of those, one of the cables get loose, then everything gets disappears, and because you're spread between two story, you might miss one of the TVs not working. We were also using kind of tricky camera setup, and even though that was tested before, some of the equipment decided not to work on the day. I had the TVs tested in the studio and everything was fine, but because we were on location and there was no power there really enough to supply all the lights and TVs, so we had to hire a generator. But the generator runs in a different frequency, so that was creating another issue with the TVs. And it's fine when you're dealing with one of the problems at a time, but like if you have all of them and you have a very, very, very narrow window to shoot this video, it's getting really, really stressful. So I definitely won't be doing that again. As for what people can expect, I think it's more like an experience than the video. I think that they'll kind of emerge into feeling going through this space and enjoy that the music stops. I'm kind of interested to see what's the feedback gonna be from like hardcore classical audience, because it's probably gonna be a polarizing piece. I might be wrong, but I think it's gonna be either people love it or hate it. I hope they love it. But yeah, they won't be middle ground.
Dominik and Andy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. Fractured 22 is released on the 25th of November and is the final episode of the current series of I Create Online. I will see you next week, and so in the meantime, take care.